Craig Jones is a fraud, and I'm going to show you exactly why. If you haven't seen my video debriefing the clear judging, reffing, and biases in sudden sporadic rule determination in CJI 2, and the plot armor for B Team versus New Wave taking place and going down the way that it did, you can go ahead and watch my first video on the subject. This is going to be about the man Craig Jones himself specifically. Not only did we take a look at this video that Craig posted basically saying, guys, after day one the event's getting boring, you guys need to start submitting each other. I'm going to put up $750,000 just so you have a monetary incentive to stop being so boring and stop having a guard retention fest. So we get down to the super fight that Craig had with Chael Sonnen. Doesn't even believe in his own event. This is day 2. Craig literally comes in, does a joke about snorting lines in the bathroom before coming out, in a very Craig Jones fashion. That was a bit nice to see Craig doing Craig things. No problem with that. My problem is we all knew that Chael was going to lose to Craig. Let's be real, the caliber of grappling, the kind of sport that it is, a jiu-jitsu match, there's no way if you knew about these two individuals and acknowledged their existence for more than 5 minutes, learned about them, you would determine the same conclusion that everyone else did. Craig was going to win. He buggy choked Chael. Well, that's all good and well. So why is Craig Jones a fraud? Craig Jones is a fraud because what we're going to do is we're going to set up a timer here, okay? And we're going to see exactly how long it took Chael to not tap out and instead pass out from the buggy choke. If you've rolled before, it's pretty simple to tell when the pressure of a submission, especially something like a choke and a buggy choke where we have a clear angle like this, we see the pressure being insinuated with, the pit of Craig's knee and him locking up the buggy. So we're going to count exactly how many seconds it takes Mr. Chael Sonnen to go ahead and lose consciousness and whether or not this is legit. If you've rolled before, even at a basic level, you would know the limits of tapping. So I'm going to put it on when the pressure gets tight.
With the choke.
He's still readjusting it. And
this is the unorthodox jiu-jitsu that we know from Craig Jones.
Look at that, the triangle getting locked up as well.
We started it early. Okay.
That's the submission.
Craig.
So we're going to say that the maximum amount of time that Craig had that submission in a tight fashion that would not just be uncomfortable but would actually be cutting off blood circulation with generous estimates before Craig even senkaku'd his legs or triangled his legs was 9.13 seconds. Do we really think that Chael Sonnen lost consciousness in 9.13 seconds? At most. And now, you know what? Let's do the more realistic version. I'm going to do a jump cut when Craig does triangle his legs, so we see what a more realistic time would be.
Craig Jones.
Look at that, the triangle getting locked up as well.
That is tight. That is tight.
After Craig triangled his legs, which if you know buggy chokes, that's when it gets really tight and the submission pressure is on. That's when you see the guys posturing up that are getting submitted and, they're slamming you down. They're pissed off that, you're bottom side control and you're submitting them. Anywho, it was a total of 4.5 seconds that Chael lost consciousness after Craig really put the pressure on and triangled his legs. Even if it's just above 9 seconds, do we really think that Chael lost enough blood flow to his brain to go ahead and not have time to tap out and instead pass out? I think this is 100% a lie. There's no way someone this tough, or just really anyone in general, you can get a random guy out of a hobbyist room and he will tell you if he has some rolling experience where he doesn't just feel some, neck crank pressure or anything like that. You know when you're about to pass out. You know when that blood flow is getting cut off. Now, some people, yes, they're going to be able to last longer, right? But this amount of time, it's extremely questionable. And we know that the buggy choke, it can get really tight. It can get real tight, you guys. It's a legitimate choke. I'm not one of these people saying, oh, the buggy choke, it don't work. You can't, buggy. No, it works, guys. But it's not nearly as tight as a rear naked choke, right? And we've seen guys hang out in there for way longer. And I'm talking under the chin, not above the eyebrows, where Nicky Rod is squeezing your skull and threatening to break it as far as like your orbitals and all your teeth. We're talking under the chin. People have hung out for longer in the tightest choke than Chael Sonnen did in a buggy choke. And he passed out. People have lived to tap out in those rear naked choke situations, making this extremely fishy. Now, why do I care this much? Why do I care? It was just a fun super fight, right? Fun super fight, two guys, icons in the fighting space, and it's all fun and games, right? My problem is CJI 2 was an absolute disgrace in the face of jiu-jitsu. The only good part about it was that it was free of charge. Renato Laranja was extremely cringy with his interviews. He made an extremely offensive sexual assault joke to Tom DeBlas in an interview, and you can see from Tom's face, which I'm going to do another video on this, that if it wasn't on camera, Tom would probably end Renato Laranja right there, or at least teach him a lesson on not to make jokes about childhood sexual assault. And it was pushing the limits, and it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny, to the point where Gabby Garcia started making fun of Renato when she was drunk. So that's a whole nother topic. There's just a multitude of things that this event has, going against it, as far as corruption in the scoring, Craig Jones not even believing in the event himself after the first day, the submission of Chael Sonnen being a fraud to anyone who's rolled in their lives and knows what a blood choke is and how fast it comes on. So we see here Craig is trying to hip toss Chael, and they both kind of go down. Chael gets real heavy on his hips and drops his weight. Takes Craig down. They're scrambling. Craig builds up to an elbow and he props, and he's going to do his octopus guard thing, I think, in a second. No, never mind, not octopus guard. So he goes into a buggy choke. This was the first one. This was the other occasion where Craig buggy choked them. The pressure doesn't really come on until he locks the hands. Boom, locks the hands. This is where it goes from uncomfortable. Triangles his legs. We'll give him some leeway before he gets the squeeze on the triangle. And he's out. Okay, Craig lets go. Just under 5 seconds because Chael allegedly passed out. This is, I don't know how more people aren't talking about this, you guys. Anyone who's rolled before could tell you that 5 seconds is probably not enough to lose consciousness in a fully locked buggy choke, right? And it would probably be around the time where, okay, things are starting to get a little bit woozy, you're getting lightheaded, you feel that, your brain is clearly losing out on the oxygen and the blood nutrients that it needs, and you're thinking about tapping here. But you have like a good 5 more seconds, you have a good just above 5 seconds, actually, I would argue, before you black out. At least I would assume, and most people that I've talked to about this also have the same stance on this. It's not to say that Chael isn't tough. It's not to say that, okay, well, that whole sentiment of tap out or black out before you tap out or whatever. I'm not here to argue whether or not that's a good thing to do or not, or whether or not you're tough for doing that. I genuinely believe that Chael was acting here and that Craig Jones is a fraud and this wasn't even a real match. Craig Jones was extremely uninterested in this event, as we saw from previous reasons. And on top of that, he left the event early. Right after the super fight, he just dipped, probably to like a bar or something to get a drink, or just like doing zins with his friends. Left his own event. Now, with all of that said and done, I'll let you decide. I'll let you put together the puzzle pieces and really formulate an opinion on Craig Jones and this event of CJI 2, and really tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this event, because I think the pieces are laid out for you, and it's just a matter of you deciding whether or not you agree with this, or maybe I'm missing something. I'm always open to the idea of being provided new information and seeing it from a different perspective. I feel like that's how we grow. But for now, this is the stance that I firmly hold. And I'm going to stand my base on this, that Chael Sonnen was faking it as far as losing consciousness, that Craig Jones didn't even try in the Superfight, didn't do anything funny like last time. No interviews with Craig Jones towards the end. I'm super glad that Renato Laranja didn't do another interview after the whole thing was over, because we've had enough of him for obvious reasons. And yeah, just super unimpressed, especially, you know, John Danaher and a lot of the other people competing in this event. And what it was trying to do was a lot of good for the sport of jiu-jitsu. And I still think it was a net positive at the end of the day. I'm just making this video from a contrarian standpoint of having a strong opinion about it. But you're more than welcome to formulate your own opinion. This is what it's all about. Tell me what you think in the comments about what we discussed. And until next time, it's been the Jiu-Jitsu Junkie. I'm out.